So I'm sitting here watching a video, and something in the video just made me think about how I'm such a different person than I was in 2021. And I specifically call out 2021 because that was when I started my therapy journey. And it's 2026 now, so it's been a solid 5 years of navigating everything that I had been through, for the last 20, 25 years, and unpacking a lot and learning how to master my emotions, like regulating my emotions. And maybe master is a strong word. Maybe I don't know if I'm like a master of my emotions yet. I like to think I'm very close to it. I still have my moments of rumination. I think that's what has been like a running theme for today. This has come up in this video I'm watching, and I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and the person, I was talking about a dream I had, and then how the dream kind of showed up in my real life in a different way, like a day or two after I had the dream. And how the person I was speaking to asked me like what I thought my subconscious was trying to tell me. And I said that I think the dream was really about releasing resentment and not harboring these feelings of like a need for vindication, and just releasing it and allowing God, the universe, to take care of it on my behalf, and so that I can free that space up. And the person that I was speaking to sort of validated that, like when you're able to release those negative emotions, you create a space within you to be filled with other things. And I've been in this period of stillness. It's July when I'm recording this video. I've been laid off since January, and I have been able to take care of myself since January, since losing my job. And I also am a part of this like community of people who have been laid off since this new administration has been in. I mean, they're not new anymore, but I'm not going to get into that. But a part of this group of people healing from burnout. I didn't realize how severe the burnout was for me, but it's been pretty significant. It's been a significant chapter in my life, and I feel like the layoff at the beginning of the year was the closing of one book and like the start of the next book of my life. And or maybe it was just, I don't know, maybe January to like June was like the, what's it called, epilogue. Maybe that was like the epilogue, I don't know. And this is like the new chapter or the new book being created in this present moment. And I feel like that because I just lost, okay, here we go. I feel like that because I don't feel like the same person that I was in January. The same way that I'm not the same person that I was when I started my therapy journey in 2021. When I started therapy in 2021, my goal was to prepare myself mentally to like be with a life partner, and I didn't feel like I had seen examples of the type of relationship that I wanted to be in my real life. And so I needed to be able to like visualize and unpack all of my baggage to create this relationship with another person. And I like to, I was thinking about it from the perspective of like manifesting things in my life, and it's been really easy. I think I'm a master manifester. Like people will tell you, I will say something, I will speak it into existence, and it will show up in my life at the perfect time in almost the exact way that I said it would. But there's one thing about like manifesting a house or like a living situation versus manifesting a person, right? Like, because a person has their own free will, and you can't, at least in the way that I like to manifest, like I like to just call the thing in by being very specific and being certain, or even if I don't know all of the specific details about what it is that I want, I have a sense of how I want to feel when I'm experiencing the thing. And sorry, this lighting is really ugly. Okay, here we go. My TV just went to the Roku page with the purple screen. Anyway, what was I saying? It's easier to manifest an experience or a job or something than it is to manifest a person, or it had been for me, because you can be very specific about the type of job you want. You can be very specific about the type of vacation you want to go on or the type of car you want. Then you start seeing the car and you can go, test drive it. Like, the opportunities just seem to be a lot more available. Whereas with a person, for me, I I don't like the idea of just picking up a random person just because somebody is cute and saying like, oh, I want to be with that person. Like, for me, it was deeper. I wanted to be aligned with the right person. And life circumstances, like, that's not something that you can just call in and it immediately show up. People have to go through things, and I knew that I was evolving at a rate where it did not make sense for me to be in a serious relationship with someone, because I was going to outgrow them. And what I did was, I forget how I even started this conversation, but I was thinking about the fact that I had recently come across a person that I was in like a long-term situationship with. It was like 2 years. And I don't even claim this person as like a past partner, because in hindsight, they were just not, the person that I knew them to be was not a good individual. They were very unkind to me. They were a pathological liar, and they were very manipulative. And the person who I am today wouldn't even entertain that type of a person. But in 2021, I met them like right at the start of my therapy journey. And so I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody, because that person could have done their own healing and stuff. But it was very clear, like now it is very clear to me that I bonded with that person because of a trauma bond. Like, it wasn't because we were good for each other. It was because my trauma saw their trauma and we connected over that, and it just lasted a lot longer than it should have. So I saw this person recently. And also, I don't claim them, because it just wasn't one of my proudest moments. And so I maintain that it was just like someone that I dated, but it wasn't like serious. It was like I almost equate that dynamic or that situationship to like my undergraduate career. Like, when I was getting my bachelor's degree, it was me navigating really rocky terrain for the first time, not knowing what to expect. And then my senior year, looking back on it like, wow, I would never do that again. And also, senior year is so much easier than freshman year, at least for me. Like, the coursework was more difficult, of course, but like I knew how to navigate it because I was used to being a college student at that point. Now, the relationship, not me calling it a relationship. I mean, for the sake of this, like, it was a relationship, but it wasn't like a healthy dynamic at all. It was a situationship. It's honestly what it was. I came across this person recently, here's the thing, like I didn't even see them, but I was in their presence, and I didn't look up to acknowledge them, but I knew that they were nearby because I heard their voice, and they were literally like standing right next to me. And I don't even know if the person saw me or not. I don't know if the person knew when they stood next to me that it was me, because I was kind of when I'm out a lot of times, like out in the streets, I'm kind of like in incognito mode, especially with this sun. Like I got a hat, sunglasses, I'm just looking like, you know, I'm in witness protection or something. And so I didn't know if the person knew who I was, but I also was just like, I don't want to engage. Like, I don't feel like engaging. I don't want to be rude to anyone, but I just have no interest in like having a conversation or doing the whole like look up, like, oh, I recognized your voice. Like, how's it going? Like, I was just not in that frame of mind. And I didn't feel obligated to have to like acknowledge the person. So I, wrapped up what I was doing. I didn't like panic, run away from the person. And it was just like a natural departure. It was almost like there was a stranger next to me, and, I hear a stranger talking, and then that's it. I walk away from the stranger. Like, I don't need to engage in a conversation with the stranger. I don't know them. And I think that showed me how much I've grown, because I was able to just like radically detach from that situation and from that person, where I can be standing next to them in public and hear their voice, knowing that we had a very tumultuous dynamic. It is not one that I would ever want to revisit. I don't feel any sense of obligation for like maintaining any, I don't want to say I don't I don't want to be cordial, but it was just like, I don't know this person, because I don't know them anymore, right? Like, I knew them for a couple of years, but like now I'm a different person. So like, I don't know that person anymore, and I don't have any interest in engaging. And I didn't want to be fake about it and like pretend and then be awkward, or I just didn't want to engage. And the level of detachment that I felt in that was so refreshing, and it showed me how much I've grown, because old me would have like taken that as some sort of sign, right? I would have taken that, because I'm very much a like believe in the signs type of a person, like, call things into my life and all of this. But I also think that some things are tests, and not that I think that that specific interaction or like lack of interaction was a test, but it was maybe it was like a test for me, because I felt like that situationship was, I just equated it to like my bachelor's degree. When I met that person, it was the very beginning of my therapy journey. And then where I am right now, or even when I decided to walk away from that situation, it was like a light switch flipped off for me, where it was like this very, I can't even say lustful. I was going to say hot, but it wasn't that. It was just a weird attachment. It wasn't like this was some person that I was like, oh my gosh, the chemistry is intense and I just want to be around them. It was none of that. But for some reason, I just felt connected to them, even though they were very, very unkind, and it was just a bad match. And it's like I woke up one day and I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I subjecting myself to this type of dynamic with another human being when I have free will to walk away? I have free will to say, like, this is not the type of dynamic I want to have with anybody. I don't want this person in my personal space. I don't really want to be interacting with them. I don't want any sort of relationship with them, not even a friendship with them. And I just like cut it off cold turkey. And it was one of the best things I did. But it took me a couple of years of therapy to get to that point. And it's not even like when I went into therapy, I was like, okay, my goal is to like make a relationship with this person work. It was truly, I went into therapy with the goal of like I said earlier, preparing myself mentally for this like life partnership with this magical person that was going to just appear in my life. And I told my therapist this. She was very much like, what are your goals for therapy? During our first session, I told her, and she was like, okay, we can do that. Great. What I didn't realize is that I was going to go on this whole journey of self-discovery. I was thinking like, well, I just told the therapist I want to prepare myself for a relationship. I thought it was going to be very focused on like relationships. And what it was, like our first session, like after I told her my goal, she was like, yeah, we can do that. Sounds good. And then we immediately went into her giving me a breakdown of like my brain and brain science and like my nervous system and all of that, right? And like the therapy itself was me, I don't know what I expected. I mean, it makes sense now that I've been doing it for 5 years, but at the beginning, I think I was just so laser focused on this one thing. And it's funny because now, like that was my original goal. Now I'm like, I don't even want to be with nobody. Like I feel so content in where I am right now that honestly, another person in my space sounds repulsive. You know what I mean? Like we will have to get a duplex and like I live in one unit and you live in the other because I enjoy my presence, my own presence so much that having another person be around all the time does not sound like anything that's even remotely interesting to me at this stage in my life. But to me, for me to get here, it was like a journey of unpacking all of these wounds that I didn't even know were wounds, like understanding trauma in a way that I didn't understand it before. I heard trauma initially and I thought of like wounds or some sort of like physical trauma or ailment to the body. And I mean, it's an ailment to the brain essentially, but I wasn't thinking about it in that way. And I wasn't thinking that small things, seemingly small things, right? Like psychological things that occurred in childhood could be linked to these larger occurrences in my adult life. That was the first time that I was able to like connect those, or you know, it's been through my journey in therapy that I've been able to connect those dots and understand myself in that way and understand why I had feelings of unworthiness. I had feelings of, you know, insecurity and like self-esteem issues and abandonment issues. And I understand how I've maintained those beliefs in my adult life based on my upbringing. And I've been able to like really pinpoint it to specific situations or examples, things that I experienced with both of my parents, where I'm like, okay, my dad doing this thing, that's the starting point for me to get to this point of like, you know, abandonment wounds or whatever, or like my mom doing this things, that was the starting point for me to reach this point of, you know, unworthiness. And like, what do I have to do to reparent myself so that the grown up version of me can reassure my child self that I don't have to hold on to those beliefs anymore and soothe myself constantly. And one of the things that my therapist always says is like, this is moment by moment work. And there have been so many times that I had continued to hold on to feelings of guilt and shame because I felt like I knew better. I know better. I don't know why I keep going back to this person. I don't know why I keep getting upset about this same thing. I don't know why I keep ruminating. I don't know why I keep making all of the same bad decisions. And it's like, this is like, there's always an opportunity to start fresh. There's always an opportunity to shift my perspective And it is truly moment by moment work. Even in this year, like it's July 10th as I'm recording this video. This week has been very emotional for me. Like, yeah, my period is coming pretty soon, so you know, luteal phase is always pretty intense for me emotionally. So I have to have grace with myself and know that there's more going on. Like there are hormonal changes taking place in my body. So I have to, have grace with myself and know that I am a bit more sensitive during this time, and in a few days I will be okay. Like I'll be in a more stabilized place as far as like my mood goes. But for right now, it's been pretty emotional, between just like things happening in the world and trying not to consume too much, news and bad stories, because there's a lot of that to go around, and trying to balance that with like this sense of peace. And then being in my 7th month of unemployment, I guess technically it's like 6th month because I got laid off. My last day was at the end of January, so yeah, it's about 6 months. And then also it being like the start of the second half of the year. So I feel I have had a lot of feelings of like shame, I guess. Shame and not feeling productive enough. Like I am in a state of detaching from my inherent value being based on my level of productivity. That's just not the life that I want to continue to live. Like I've lived the first 40 years of my life basically as this worker bee who has been trying to be productive constantly because that was what was modeled to me when I was a child. If I needed a moment of rest, that was seen as me being lazy and me being shamed. And so that's one of the things that that I'm still actively having to reparent myself to say, like, it's okay to rest. Like you have done the damn thing when it comes to like your professional career. You were laid off as a result of funding cuts or, things that happen that are above your control. And there's nothing to be ashamed about. And this is a divinely appointed period of rest because you need it. And it's also, I was actually at the doctor, I had a doctor's appointment earlier, and I've been having some pretty intense pain in my body that caused me to have an MRI earlier this year. And I'm glad that I had that my doctor ordered it, because I was able to finally get some like validation on the pain that I have been feeling in my body. And today my doctor said, when I was we've been doing treatment to like alleviate the pain and like break up scar tissue that I have in my shoulder. And I was telling the doctor, like, there are just certain movements that are still very tender, but I also have a goal. Like one of my goals is to be able to do a press handstand. Now I can't do a regular handstand, but I have just always wanted to be able to press up on my hands into a handstand. It just looks cool to me, and I feel like that's something that I want to be able to do while I can still, while I still have a body and am alive and am healthy enough to be able to do that. And I told my doctor, and they were like, yeah, we can make that. Like that's a goal. You're not in that season right now though. Like right now is about rest and breaking up the scar tissue and building strength slowly, and like, getting myself together in that way. And I was telling my doctor that I think I'm present enough in my body and in my life to know that I cannot continue to function at the same level that I have been functioning at, because it was just unsustainable. It was not only unsustainable mentally, because I definitely reached burnout, surpassed burnout, like master's degree in burnout, honestly, if I'm being real. And I also had been pressing down or like suppressing this pain that I was feeling and minimizing it because I had been to other doctors before, and I was passing all of these like orthopedic tests, like, let's see if you have a rotator cuff tear. Oh, you passed the test. There's nothing wrong. Just change your pillow. And it was like a constant disregard of my pain. And I'm so thankful that I came across this doctor, because they were like, this isn't making sense. Like, your pain is okay sometimes, and then it's really intense other times. Like, let's have an MRI. And then it was from the MRI where, today my doctor said, like, when I was telling them that certain movements were bothering me, even still at this stage in my recovery journey. And they said, yeah, that makes sense because your MRI showed that you were like at the most chronic level of pain that you can reach before you just can't do the thing anymore, So it's been so helpful to have another person and an MRI like validate my feelings. And like, I don't know. Sometimes the medical gaslighting is so real, and I have dealt with it I've dealt with it a lot, especially this year and over the last year, I would say. And I could talk about that in a totally different video. But I'm in this stage of rest and repair, and it's been productive rest. And so I've had to reparent that part of myself that thought that me not having a job for the past 6 months, not having any leads, working on my little side quests and side projects. And like, when I first got laid off, I was trying to fill my time with like a bunch of random stuff. I enrolled in a class. I went to like 3 conferences. I was, looking for places to volunteer. I was just doing a lot. And it was like, I was in a financial position where I could actually take my hands off of the wheel for a little while and just let life happen and just kind of see how things played off. And I was afraid to let go. I was afraid to do nothing because it was just so deeply rooted within my subconscious that I have to be doing something all the time. I don't get to rest, and it was my programming. And I know that was my programming. I know that was my mama's programming, because she still operates in that way, to the point where sometimes I have to say to her, like, you could just like not sign up for another committee, right? But I can't do other people's work for them. Like, that's got to be something that the person wants, to work through themselves. And I just did not want to continue to live a life where I was burning myself out. Like, work was burning me out, and I was allowing myself to be burnt out because I was doing stuff for my job. And I can say this now that I haven't had the job for 6 months, and I've been delivered from it. I am free from that stress. But I was doing stuff for that job that they were not asking me to do, and they weren't paying me extra to do it. But they got so used to me being like this rock star, because I hate being called a rock star at work. I just feel like it's so performative, and I just don't resonate with that. But, having all these leaders call me a rock star and tell me I'm so good at my job, and I'm like the cornerstone or the keystone of these projects, but then like they want to pay me in compliments instead of real money, and then I'm burning myself out, and I'm not like the work and the compensation isn't aligned, and now I'm like, I will never work as hard as I was working for no job. Like, it's just not going to happen. I don't care if I have a job and it's a well-paying job. They're going to get what they're paying me for. I'm not going above and beyond. Like, I'm not a slave to capitalism. I mean, I kind of am because I live in the United States, right? But like, or just exist in the world, period. But I'm not doing that in the same way that I was doing before, where, I would have all these random ailments popping up, and my doctors, outside of the shoulder, my doctors would be like, yeah, you know, I'm not sure why you're experiencing this. We did the test and there's no reason why this should be happening. Are you stressed? That was always the question. I remember having dental work done and I didn't have a dental guard or like a mouthpiece, what you call it, like a retainer or like a night guard or whatever. I have one now. And before I got it though, I had just had all this dental work done. And when I went back for my 6-month checkup, my dentist was like, I'm gonna need you to get a night guard because you're grinding your teeth so much, it's ruining the dental work that I just did a few months ago. So I'm gonna need you to get a night guard like like yesterday. And it was stuff like that where I'm like, wow, like I'm really stressed out. How many medical practitioners do you need to run through all the tests with you to keep saying, are you just stressed? And then I started doing my own research about autoimmune diseases, specifically in women, and like a lot of them being linked to stress and like current stress, but like a lot of that stress also being linked back to like unresolved childhood issues. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not going down that road. I am a, pretty healthy person, very healthy actually, and I'm so thankful for that. With the exception of a few ailments, like the shoulder is something that I am working on, but it's nothing that's like, it's not a life-changing, life-altering thing, right? Like, it's chronic. Yeah, I've been dealing with it for quite a while, and it is a physical manifestation of like various things, but it's been one of the things that has improved as I have been in this period of stillness. And sometimes the stillness is hard, like, because I do have to keep reminding myself in those moments of rumination when I'm like, dang, I still don't have a job yet. And like, I'm applying for jobs, and the jobs that I'm applying for, I don't even really want them, but I know I have to be able to survive in the world and pay bills. But like, I also don't want this job because I don't want a job. I don't want a job. And does that mean that I don't want to earn income? No, like, I want to earn my own income. I just don't want to have to do it through the traditional means of having a 9-to-5 job where I have to clock in and work for a person and have KPIs and have performance reviews and like all of the performance. Like, I'm done with performing. I just can't do it anymore. I don't want to. If I'm performing, it's because I am a performer and I'm on a stage. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not performing at my 9 to 5. And that's how it's been. And the past couple years, I haven't been doing a good job being a jester and performing because I've been so checked out. It's really been like, I'm here to do this job and y'all pay me. Like, that's it. You're not paying me to go to your happy hours. You're not paying me to like be friends. You're not paying me to like do any of the performative stuff that y'all like to do. It's weird. It's fake. I don't want to do it. I don't feel like I have to do it. And that was my attitude. And I don't think that, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever, it would have to be a special kind of a job for me to go to, right? And it's probably going to be something that I create myself. But anyway, the point of me saying all of that is because I've been in this period of rest, and it's been guilt-free rest over the past couple of months. Honestly, I've been reading more than I've ever read before. I'm the type of person that will like get books, get a classic book, put it on a shelf, never read it. You know, go to the bookstore because it's just always, I've just always had a pull to the bookstore. This is like one of my comfort places. I used to go to Borders Books and Music with my, parents when I was a kid, with both parents separately. Like when I went with my mom, I would go for books. When I went with my dad, we would go for music. You know what I mean? So like that's just always been one of my comfort places, and just very nostalgic, very, well, Borders doesn't exist anymore, but just like bookstores in general have just always been a happy place for me. And buying books on things that look interesting, I'm definitely a jack of all trades, master of everything, like if I'm being honest. And if I decide I want to learn how to knit, I'm gonna get a book on knitting, and then I'm gonna knit everybody's scarves for Christmas. This was my life. Like I don't know what year this was, 2012 or something. It was like the early 2010s. All of my family got chunky scarves. All of my friends got scarves. Like some of my friends still show me pictures of them wearing the scarves that I knitted them. And it was because I taught myself how to knit from a book, right? And so I was just that kind of a person. Like if I want to learn how to do something, I'm going to get a book and I'm going to learn how to do it. Or, I feel like I have to have all these classic books. So I need to buy all of these books, and then I put them on the shelf and then I don't read them. And it's not because I don't want to read them. It's because like my brain hasn't been wired to be able to read for pleasure. I read a lot in undergrad. I was a history major, so I read a lot. And then I read a lot in graduate school. And for a long time, I would not allow myself to pick up a book that wasn't related to my course load. And so now that I'm a fully grown adult who is not in school and has the space to have hobbies and stuff, like truly have hobbies, especially right now in this period of like unemployment, I started reading. I started reading for pleasure, and I've been able to like get a book, pull it off the shelf, or, buy a book from a shop because it sounds interesting or whatever. Or a lot of times I just buy books based on the way the book looks. I'm gonna be real. I'm like, this is a beautiful book, I want to read it. And then I read it cover to cover over the span of like a week or two. And I started this in April. I read the first fiction book that I've been able to like truly read, like eliminate all of the mental blocks and allow myself to read it cover to cover. I read it over the course of 10 days. And then this other book I finished last week. This one took me a little bit longer. It was a shorter book, funny enough, but it took me a little bit longer because I mentioned I was in a course. So I was working on a group project. And so I just wasn't as engaged in the book after a while because all of my attention I was prioritizing finishing this group project, which thankfully was submitted a couple of weeks ago. So I have my time back. And so I finished the book. I was determined to finish this book, finished it over a couple of weekends ago, I think it was. And I'm listening to Game of Thrones because I want to actually like go through. I'm not reading Game of Thrones. I'm not reading that book, like, flipping through the page or whatever. I've been listening to it. And that is a book that I think is definitely worth listening as opposed to like reading it, because even listening has been a little confusing. I can't imagine. I would have to have like 15 different highlighter colors if I were, reading that book. And listening is so much more entertaining because it feels like I'm listening to a play or something. Like the person that's narrating does a really good job of like with different voices. So it's been very captivating. I'm almost done with it. That was like 37 hours. I think I have like 3 hours to go until I'm done. So I'm listening to that, and I'm reading Bell Hooks, which is really good so far. I started a couple of days ago. Gosh, what is it called? Rock My Soul. That book it's called Rock My Soul, Black People and Self-Esteem or something. I think that's what it's called. And then I'm also reading a James Baldwin book. It's my first James Baldwin book. I have it right here actually. The Fire Next Time. I had looked up to see what the best James Baldwin book to start with was, and this one and a couple of others popped up. And this one is basically like a few letters that he's written, or that he had written to his family, and you know, it kind of speaks on like race relations in the United States during his time. And it's funny because not much has changed, which is really sad to say. So yeah, I'm reading that. This one I probably will get through a little bit slower because it is, even though it's a small book, it's easy to read. I've like read the first letter in it so far, but it's a heavy book. Like the Bell Hooks book is also pretty heavy, but that one kind of aligns a lot with like where I am in life right now, and like building this self-worth and building self-esteem and stuff like that. So yeah, like the rest has been great. The rest has been good, and I'm at the season. Like I keep saying, like I'm in the season of productive rest, right? Like although sometimes just like couch rotting sounds so disgusting to me, but you know, like being a couch potato is something that I've done too. I've also been allowing myself to binge watch some shows, which is not something that I have been letting myself do because I felt like, oh, this isn't productive. But for me, I think as a person who easily gets into a state of rumination about negative things, you know, things that I can't control, things from the past that are not even worth thinking about anymore, I needed some relief. And being able to get lost in these books, and also being able to let me get my charger. But it's been really helpful. This has been this is a transformative time in my life. I don't know what is next to come, but I know that I'm going to look back on this time and be so thankful for this period of rest and actually being able to like let myself enjoy it and read the books that I've been wanting to read, that I've been collecting for years, and allowing myself to just like have moments of, you know, where I'm just binging a show and not feeling guilty about it. And it's been helping my body, you know, like it's literally been helping my body to rest. Like the chronic pain has been subsiding because I have not been overexerting myself, you know what I mean? I've been still enough to let my body rest and heal. And your body heals when you rest, when you sleep. So yeah, more conversations to come, but I just really felt like I needed to turn the camera on today because I've had so many aha moments, or just like so much has come up for me today. And it's been a really good day and a very reflective day, and I just wanted to share. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.